Welcome everybody to Reality Change with Kris. My name is John Hawkins and I'm here with my friend Serge Grenbois. We will be visited shortly by Kris.
Hey John. Yes, it's a good thing. We have basically been absent for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully, people still remember us a little bit.
I think so.
That would be nice. So he's sort of already around. He's been around for the last 10 minutes anyways.
Oh, he has been.
Yeah, that's why I've been saying I've been kind of fading out.
I see. All right. Well, why don't we invite Kris to join us then?
Indeed. We trust that you are comfortable.
Thank you.
We thank you for your consideration and we take your generous invitation. And as you can see, you did not have to print a letter or send an email.
No. It was very efficient, and thank you for your consideration.
Indeed. We are very kind that way.
Yes, you are.
We do not let invitations linger. Now, some short time back, you read from a recent Monday night.
Yes.
And you found a sentence that more or less piqued your curiosity.
Yes. Which one? I read several.
About change.
Yes. Am I right in the idea that you segued rather gracefully into change at that point?
There are many times that our ability to segue sometimes goes unnoticed.
Well, I nailed it this time. I think this is the one. And yet, change is a connecting factor that allows interchanges of information between so many different civilizations in so many different universes, physical, parallel, or otherwise.
Indeed. So your civilization, the groups of souls that have engaged to appear in the world, to take birth in the world, through what you call a consensus reality.
Right.
Do so for varieties of reasons. Each individual has his or her agenda, so to speak. And you also have a collective agenda. And within that collective, you each express your own individual agendas. The ideas that you want to express into the world, thereby leaving an electromagnetic impression through the auspices of your individual and collective worldviews. So you travel through different times and spaces, not just through time and space, different times and spaces, leaving behind these particular impressions that in turn become seeds.
Oh.
They become seeds for future visitors, future groups of souls who will go through the various gardens that you have seeded with these intentions, all these impressions, as presenting possibilities. And when we say future groups, it is simply in terms of a point of reference that you may relate to. Because at those particular layers within framework 2 and 3, there is no specific future or past, but everything occurs within a vast present, an eternal unfolding of moments. unique experiences that generate new possibilities, because that is what it is all about. And possibilities present change. When any one system becomes stagnant, then there are immediate measures to bring influxes of possibilities, change, that bring nourishment, that bring an upsurge of new ideas and creativity and energy and vitality, that help redefine your particular adventures, regardless of the time-space continuum that you are traveling through. Like so many tourists travel in groups of buses to this location, that location, that location. All of these things generating new possibilities.
What I love about that idea is that the idea that we leave behind imprints of these things that end up being seeds that other people, other souls, can then take up and engage. That seems very nice, very sharing.
Everything is based upon cooperation. There is no fight to finish first. There is no fight or competition to win the most toys or the biggest medals. But there is always an powerful impulse towards cooperation. But that is often, it often goes by unseen or unnoticed, because you wear specific blinders based upon your beliefs. And at this point in time, you're still strongly adhered to the notion that somehow or other, the fittest are those who survive, even though your own history does not show that. But it is the idea that you adhere to. Therefore, you refuse collectively, through your consensus, to see otherwise. Consensus reality is a very, very powerful thing indeed. And it even gets broken down. For instance, you have a consensus reality with individuals preoccupied with a specific religious interpretation of some ideas and philosophies and so on and so forth.
Okay, like Christianity, for instance?
Christianity, Islam, this, that. So within one group, you call it group mind. The particular consensus within that group, which is potent enough to block out all evidence contrary to what the group wants to believe and adheres to.
You're talking about the Republican Party.
There are many kinds of Republicans. So you effectively, in a group, wear blinders to anything but the ideals that you espouse. You embrace these ideas and you form the foundation of your particular reality in that way. You create edifices. The difficulty is to enforce those, because this is what usually comes out of in your terms. You then, or that particular collective, then seeks to expand and more or less impose those views upon others. Because those particular views, regardless of what religion holds them, these are based upon very powerful energies, the energy of the consensus.
That's interesting.
The idea that everything that appears as contrary or contradictory to the new form consensus to be eliminated is a means of reinforcing the beliefs held by the group. The difficulty is that It is like building a house on quicksand. Because the sands of time, as you call them, keep flowing.
And change.
Meaning that the change is inevitable, even if it may take thousands of years. Still, change is the constant. It is said in your reality that taxes and religion is the constant. However, the true constant is change. Religions come and go. Taxes come and go. Governments come and go. Civilizations come and go. They all slip through the hourglass of time in those terms. They all become transformed. A new civilization comes, picks up the remnants of this and that left behind by the previous culture or civilization. It gets transformed, and the process starts over and over again. So these particular scenarios occur all the time, even in different realities. Now, because there are no closed systems, the seeds of change are not limited to those sown within your reality. There are other seeds, just like the dandelion seeds from one field get picked up by the wind, and those beautiful little dandelion umbrellas carry the seed over into another field where perhaps there were no dandelions before. All of a sudden, dandelions begin to show up. And thus then populate fields far and abroad. So similarly, the seeds of possibilities which bring change are carried out throughout multiple systems. It is inevitable and unavoidable. You cannot shut down psychological systems. You cannot shut down any system for that matter. You may give the appearance of blocking off certain amounts of information, certain aspects of life for some period of time, but not for all time. So some groups, cultures, religions may set up a very powerful empire, assimilating and basically gorging on all those who may oppose them or who may think differently. Because the group mind thinks that if you do not agree with us, then you are against us. And if you are against us, you are our enemy. And our mandate is simply to eat our enemies in that way. Right. Surrender or be killed.
Yes.
Assimilated. The old Next Generation Star Trek series with the Borg are an interesting example of that. Even if it is merely science fiction, it does illustrate a point. Be assimilated or be destroyed. So you may, whatever your inclination be, try to assimilate all others into your point of view, but that can only last until the other abandons that point of view for whatever reason. Then the seeds of change pick up again. The seas, the oceans of change, then keep flowing. They are inevitable. They are like tsunamis. They come and they will not be denied. You can only deny change for so long. But then even the very basic psychological systems cry out for change or death in that respect. Do you understand?
I think so. The picture that's emerging in my mind is of human beings, probably other life forms as well, who, for whatever reason, come up with a group mind, a group think that suits them, that it gives an advantage to them, and so they want to assimilate others who don't agree and make them the same. But that's actually change.
To a certain degree.
The process of expanding and assimilating is
It
going to cause change.
It is an aspect of change, even if at a certain point in time it reaches a point of stagnation. And then further changes are needed.
But as you said, that when that happens, that there's an automatic influx of new energy and new ideas and
Indeed.
new excitement about
Indeed. And it
possibilities.
may come in unlikely forms through unlikely sources, but it will always come in the form of ideologies.
Ideologies.
Indeed. Perceptions begin to waver. The old perceptions begin to waver. Individuals see gaps where before they saw none.
Mm.
And they look through the gaps, through the cracks, and they see that there may be other worlds out there, through the cracks in the walls, through the cracks under the doors, through the peephole. And they wonder, what is out there that we have been missing? For some time they may think what is out there is obviously evil according to the philosophies we embrace. But somehow or other, the small bits that they have perceived are enticing.
Mm-hmm.
And they call.
They create the desire.
Indeed, because the desire already exists. So the desires of all these things exist naturally. It is a natural predisposition of the human being to have desires. When certain desires must be suppressed in order to establish dominion of other desires, then that only functions for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. It is like putting pavement over the forest. After a while, the underlying vegetation reaches out and breaks even cement sidewalks and asphalt pavement, and seeks to reach through the barriers, the obstacles that were there, and do away with them.
And also, a good example, and also the asphalt and the pavement, I don't know if you've noticed out here in the city, but what we think of as solid paved roads and sidewalks are actually, you could almost think of them as a liquid, a fluid, because they're constantly being dug up and laid down again and dug up and laid down again.
And you also have the influence of the seasons and the weather especially.
Right.
So all these things move about. If you like, they vibrate at a certain set of rates or frequencies.
Mm.
So in themselves they are not truly solid.
No.
They give the appearance of solidity. And when new ideas come, the vibrations alter what already exists, and the change establishes itself. Mm. So this is a constant dance of creation. The old must give way to the new, which becomes the old, which must give way to the new, which becomes the old, and so on and so forth, in your terms. Mm-hmm. But that particular dance or waltz has and always will be the prime function of the manifestation of physical universes. The expression of ideas of its various multiple dimensional inhabitants, each one exercising its particular effect or influence, one upon the other. Mm-hmm. So in your reality, you have various, how do we say, you have various geological strata. Okay. Your geologists explore the soil and say, yes, this lower level is 300 million years old, this one is 150, this one is 50. The lower levels perhaps are 1 billion years old, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So these certainly appear intriguing. But there are objects which appear to be out of time and place.
It's true.
So an object that actually registers as 300 to 400 million years old appears in a geological layer that is much younger. And vice versa.
Or vice versa. Yeah, people have found lumps of coal, which is, you know, millions and millions of years old, according to our understanding. And when they break it open to put it in the furnace or the fire, they find artifacts like little carvings and a hammer or something.
Necklaces and jewelry that are millions of years older than the coal.
Either that or we don't know, understand the time frame.
So you have in all systems of realities, you have conduits, if you like. Perhaps conduit is not the best expression, but there are definitely certain openings that allow ideas, that allow psychological realities to wander like a butterfly from flower to flower. And these are sometimes psychological objects that are dropped within your system of realities, just like psychological objects from your systems of reality appear in others. Do not think this is unique to your system.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, no.
But here they are manifesting as hints or seeds of other possibilities.
So, for instance, a brass bell found in a chunk of coal, would that be one of those seeds?
Indeed.
Yes.
These are to impress upon you in the hopes of awakening your species to a greater type of awareness about the openness of systems of realities. They are crumbs. Just to let you know that you will find more of these. And if you look,
there's a crumb right there.
You will find more, and the more you look for them, the more they will appear. So your official status within your consensus says that somehow or other we must stop you from looking for these things. And if you do not find them, they do not exist. But if you find them, and you find more, and you find more, then people will start questioning the official line of your consciousness, of your reality. And if you do that, then certain premises upon which your cultures are founded may start to crumble. People will question, especially in terms of the authorities running the system.
Now, let me just quickly ask a question around that. Am I right in thinking that which is it's a good idea for that to happen, you know, seeds of change, seeds of possibilities to appear, especially when a system is stagnant. But am I right in thinking that that can go too far and you can end up just with a chaotic situation? There's a balance. There's a balance between...
You need not worry about upsetting the apple cart too much.
Oh, really?
Because there will always be an innate systems of checks and balances.
Oh, fine. All right.
However, those who awaken to the greater possibilities have this knowledge that can entice others to question the official line of those who govern that reality. And individuals may then begin to recognize their own authority and power. And in doing so, question the authority system. Question the medical establishment, for example. as to saying that there is only one way to treat illnesses, and it is the way the system has been created. And if you confront that system, you will be bulldozed by it. You will be bullied out of your existence.
And you know, it's interesting what you said about how we sometimes have these beliefs despite evidence to the contrary.
Indeed.
Well, the medical establishment may be very proud of what they've done, but every single one of their patients dies.
That is a fact.
Everyone.
Eventually, they all die. Now, all kidding aside, even though the established systems may be put into question, the individual is what is important and not the system. And when individuals are suppressed long enough, and when the individuals recognize that their innate intelligence has been mocked and has been deliberately suppressed, when actual knowledge about whom and what they are as beings, with the innate ability to determine their own path in life and to make decisions for themselves, then that apple cart begins to rumble a little. And there is a possibility that an apple may find its way to the ground. And it is the tipping point. Because then other apples may want to follow. They do not want to go where the cart is going anymore. Do you follow?
Yes. And in my experience of that is that everything is part of something else, so that, you know, when enough apples fall off the cart, then the guy driving the cart stops and says, oh, we're going to have to reorganize this cart a little bit because it's not working properly.
But by that point, the apples have gotten a taste of their own freedom.
Yes.
And they may not, and they may even resist going into the cart.
Well, of course, then what may very well happen, though, is that the apples that broke free will say, oh, we've got the answer now, and they'll build another cart.
Or they will liberate those apples that are still in the cart.
Yes.
This is, in a rather crude fashion, that how change occurs. Change is a powerful, powerful force. That is why it is always contained in some way. Those in authority make concerted efforts to contain change, to not let it spread, because once it does, it spreads like wildfire. And the underbrush runs or blazes very fast. So change also occurs at the individual level, not just the collective level, but it is at the individual level that the first spark begins to appear. One individual comes to recognize that he or she has this innate sense of authority, that they can make decisions for themselves. And those established systems of governance do not necessarily appreciate individuals who, and this is beyond giving lip service, but the individuals who are authentic agents of change, not agents of shield, but agents of change. Agents of change, they are like the one candle lighting another candle, who lights another candle, who lights another candle. Always throughout your history, in those terms, it is those with the few candles that light other candles that set the fires of change ablaze, and that unleash it onto the world as you know it. And then all manner of interesting transformations occur. But it will always be in a state of flux, because most of the changes that are occurring throughout the world are sometimes merely changes of policies, changes of governments, but the underlying principle is the same.
Yep.
Eventually, the individuals recognize this, and then eventually take action. But it is a wonderful process, and it is one that has always occurred, will always occur. In your world, there is this belief that somehow or other massive change must come through weapons, firearms, violence, and so on and so forth. And it may still go on for some time. But hopefully, to utilize your words, this will also change. But there will be no need to eliminate huge segments of the population to establish the changes that are wanted, or to make attempts at restricting and controlling change so that still you call it oligarchy, maintain control, and their sources of income.
Yeah, so that, I mean, using violence to attempt to create change is not really a change at all. I mean, if we look at our history, that's the norm.
If you sleep on a bed of rocks and all you do is change the bed sheets, you will still have a terrible sleep.
Right. Well, I think it's probably a time to take a little break, if that's
Indeed,
all right.
We accept that kind of change.
Thank you. Welcome back. We're having a very interesting show about change, reality change, with Kris. But before we invite Kris to join us again, I'd like to just talk a little bit about coming events. What's coming? What's coming is Christmas. What's coming is the next few weeks before Christmas, and I expect we'll have some guests maybe. We're going to try out the Skype thing and see if that's going to work, because that really opens things up for us. Also, we have actual coming events having to do with Kris and a sale on personal sessions, private sessions.
I believe it's December 11th. There's another talk by Kris on at Origo Books,
Right.
at 49 Lower Jarvis in Toronto. And the topic is compassion as one of the great keys of transformation or evolution. And these talks are free. Anybody can attend, and just go to origobooks.com, I believe, and register so that they know how many chairs to put out. Lately, we've been getting 12, 15 or so people. It's very nice. Nice group of people. And the website, lotus-mind.ca, is where we announce the, I guess, it's a holiday sale for private consultations with Kris. Not only are they greatly reduced, but I had some people were blown away by it.
Yeah, that's
But it's 2 for 1.
it's $150 bucks US
Yeah.
for 2 sessions,
Yeah.
which normally $250 for 1.
Yeah. And that's very nice. We've done similar things in the past. Especially at this time, it's very useful too. It's a great way to buy a gift for a friend or loved one.
Oh, right.
And you can keep a session for yourself.
Great
If you buy
idea.
a few of them, then you can spread them around. It's a very interesting gift to give to somebody. It's basically the gift of knowledge and
Self-knowledge.
yeah.
So that would be, so you could give that as a gift, an hour conversation with Kris,
Yep.
for $75 bucks.
And the other thing we have going on too is a sale on the Kris's book on dreams, the Discourses on Dreams. Basically what we've offered is if you pay the shipping to your part of the world, usually the shipping to Canada is about $13, and to most other places in the world is about $18. Then the book is yours.
So you just
That's
pay
the
the
bottom
shipping.
line.
You
Just pay the shipping, and the book is yours. And it's a very good book. There are interesting points in it that are made. And this past Sunday night, we had a interview with Leslie Mitchell-Clark with her show Contact. And Leslie has mentioned this in the past, and she kind of mentioned it again, that there are things mentioned by Kris in that book, Discourses on Dreams, about dreams and the nature of dreams and so on and so forth, and Kris delivered that material 2008, 2009. And it's only in 2014 that some of these things have been recognized by science, which makes it very interesting.
One of the things is like the gamma level, isn't that right?
That's one of them. Also the electromagnetic fields on the planets and in its influence upon our dream bodies, other things like that. So it's a book. I know that there's a few typos in the book. It's self-published. It just makes it more endearing.
We learned from Kris last time that if you make changes to your internal manuscript, all the books will edit themselves.
Oh, well, then problem solved. So, have a look, go to the website, and it's right there on the front page. Lotus-Mind, LOUTS or hyphen MIND.ca.
LOUTS?
LOUTS. Lotus. L-O-U. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it. LOTUS.
Thank you.
LOTUS. See, I edited it. So LOTUS. What would that make?
Lutus.
Lutz? Yeah, what the heck. So do visit and pick yourself a session and some books and have fun.
Yes, and I should just quickly say, from my perspective, I've had several privates with Kris, and he is unfailingly generous and compassionate and almost invariably tells me stuff that I didn't even know I needed to know. So it's good stuff, really good. And you get a recording of it for future reference.
Yeah, usually the recordings are digital, especially through Skype. It's recorded and sent to you as an MP3 file, audio file.
Yes, I've gone back to one of my first interactions with Kris, and there's stuff that he said there that I still haven't really assimilated yet. But hey, I'm eternal, there's time.
There you go. So I'm going to let Kris come back.
All right. Welcome back, Kris.
Indeed. Now, on the topic of change, you and Joseph made mention of the private sessions offered at a special rate on the website.
Yes.
Now, of course, all big changes come about first and foremost through personal change. All change begins at that particular level. Change means accepting new ideas as well as dispensing with old ideas that may no longer serve a purpose once you understand the nature of a new set of ideas. Otherwise, the old is still kept as favorable, even though it may no longer have any value. Its value then simply comes from the fact that it has been held for some time.
We're familiar.
Indeed. So the old is replaced by the new. The same occurs at the individual level in terms of change and transformation. Individuals may go through their whole lives long adhering to certain values and principles that they garnered from their youth, their upbringing, their family environment, and whatever else that entailed. As the individual grows older, of course, he gives up the behaviors of the child. For some, that may be more difficult, but the ideas and the mindsets of the child are simply left behind, replaced by the ideas of the young adult. Many people, in some ways, desire transformation. They desire a means to unlock from within them that which they know has always existed, but they have not been able to take hold of. So these personal conversations between ourselves and others,
Private sessions, yes.
indeed, are designed to meet that need. The individual slowly, creatively involves the new ways of thinking. Basically giving up some of the old restrictions, some of the behaviors, the beliefs that they feel hold them back. And how they can do that, it is not always the same for all individuals. Some go into transformations kicking and screaming more than someone else. Others can adapt to change more easily than others. We spoke before the break about the great changes at larger levels of life. Even changes that occur within nature are based upon embracing new forms of cooperation, sometimes with the environment, sometimes with other life forms or other individuals.
Embracing new forms of cooperation.
Indeed. Otherwise, particular species simply drop off. The environment can no longer sustain their particular mindset, and they are dropped off. You consider that to be extinction. And there have been at times extinction of entire species of human beings because they could not adapt. They could no longer cooperate with the environment and the systems as those particular aspects transformed.
Right.
They could no longer adapt. So adaptability, cooperation is the mainstay. And if Darwin had made those particular observations the more prominent aspects of his theories of evolution, then you might have had a completely different worldview set upon your reality at this point in time. So instead of seeing that the fittest survive, he could have noticed that those who fit change and transformation and adaptability and cooperation into their lifestyle are the ones who survive.
Right.
While very often those who are called the strongest or the fittest are the ones who are left by the roadside. So this particular view is also built into the psychology of each and every individual on your planet. Each and every individual has the capacity to adapt, to change, transformation, cooperation, to literally allow their lives to unfold in an harmonious way without setting up resistances simply based upon fear.
I have a quick question around that, if I may. You mentioned earlier that some individuals are more open to change
Indeed.
and others are less. What is it? Let's say I'm an individual who's not particularly open to change, and yet I've listened to you talk, and I'm saying, yes, okay, good. So what can I do to increase my acceptance and engagement of positive changes? How can I do that?
Indeed. Exploration of the potential benefits that may come from change, as opposed to sticking with that which is known and which may no longer function, simply due to tradition, for example. Even though some aspects of the traditional values have become outgrown, and there may still be some aspects of those traditional values that are still practical, useful, and able to sustain. Incorporating new blood, per se, new life, may provide the opportunity to transform an individual in ways he or she has not contemplated before. Those who wish to embrace any kind of change usually find a way, because it is in the desire. So then they draw to them those individuals, those personalities, who may entice the change, who may set fire to the dry logs.
Okay. So my understanding there then is there's really three things you're suggesting. One is to explore and focus on the potential benefits of the change, right?
Indeed.
The other is to not feel that it has to be wholesale, cross-the-board change.
Indeed.
If some bits are working good and some bits you don't have to change everything. And the third would be to, with that desire, understand that you're going to be engaging individuals who are going to be able to give you a spark, maybe, to ignite the kind of...
And indeed, often little more is needed than that particular tiny little spark of hope, of aspiration, that then inspires the individual to spread his or her wings.
What I really like, again, being a word guy, is the idea of change is about interchange. It's about exchange.
Indeed.
It's about cooperation with things that are going on, other people, circumstances, opportunities, so that it's not me changing this, it's me interchanging and exchanging. There's probably other change words that I could think of.
A thesaurus might prove useful.
Yes.
But since it is not available at the moment, simply know that change in all of its various forms is a constant factor in the creative abilities of all realities. It is not something that hides behind the furnishings or the furniture or under the bed. It is an active part of the psyche, of the mind, of all life forms.
Well, if you think about it, creativity...
You could say it is an absolute.
If you think about the word creativity, you gotta have change involved with creativity.
Indeed. And creativity also contains another word, create.
Yes.
So this steady and delightful transformation of ideas assists the individual to transition from that which is old and perhaps no longer functioning and bringing the results they now desire.
Because that has changed.
Indeed. So the individual's desires draw new possibilities to them. Now some may fear those situations and resist, but others may recognize that it is indeed high time. So we are mentioning all of this simply to say that The private consultations that we have offered and that we have engaged in with individuals for over 30 years usually involve assisting that person to transition so that their lives are more fulfilling in ways they did not comprehend was available to them before.
Right. Well, I must go back and review I think I've had half a dozen privates and just see how that was a catalyst for change. That'll be a very interesting process.
Indeed. And with that, we suggest returning Joseph to your lovely and ever-changing selves.
Thank you.
And thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Kris. Well, folks, that's our show for today. We're going to do this again in a week or so. And meanwhile, check out lotus-mind.ca and see if you can't find something interesting there.
Yeah, don't go to LOUTS, go to LOTUS.
Yes. And in the meantime, we'll have fun and we'll talk to everybody again soon.